The aerospace industry is buzzing with talk of gamma titanium aluminide, a compound that radically reduces the weight of jet and automobile engines, rockets, and land-based power turbines by at most 50%. GammaTi made aviation history on its maiden commercial flight aboard the Airbus A320neo new gear turbofan engine in January 2016 due to one scientist in particular, Dr. Gopal Das, now an adjunct professor of metallurgy at Case Western Reserve University. 40 years ago, Dr. Das would never have imagined that his technology would make history, let alone make 5 world records. GammaTi was a dream, and those who saw its benefits did not wish to risk their career on a material with glaring deficits. Dr. Das believed he could overcome GammaTi's flaws. Back in 1984, the government of India presented him with the esteemed Elsina Electronics Award on a nationally televised broadcast for creating polished silicon wafers, the forerunner of the solar cell and computer chip, in a grassroots facility without outside help. It was 20 years ahead of its time. Emboldened by this success, Dr. Das resolved to make GammaTi acceptable for application in aerospace. He recognized the power of this lightweight, burn-resistant intermetallic compound and began to investigate how to engineer GammaTi so that it could replace the twice heavier superalloy parts on jet engines. If such substitutions proved successful, the consequential weight savings would cause a sizable domino effect in any industry, improving engine fuel consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, noise pollution, overall performance efficiency, fuel costs, flight range, direct operation costs, and airline operation costs. Over the last 40 years, Dr. Das improved GammaTi's low ductility, for which it was largely ignored, by a whopping 100%, a quantum leap in intermetallic compounds. It is for this achievement and for developing innovative processing that GammaTi is the talk of the industry today. I'm Ishani Das. If you're curious about the image behind me, it is a GammaTi specimen being heat-treated. And keep your eyes peeled for the pictures that Dr. Das has taken of GammaTi's microstructure by the electron microscope during our interview. Look closely at the backgrounds. Dr. Gopal Das, what an honor for me to have you on this program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you have won the R&D 100 award for science and aviation. The Chicago Tribune has called that award akin to the Nobel Prize of Applied Science. Others call it the Oscars of Innovation. Your pioneering work in gamma titanium aluminide has won the NORTEC Innovation Award, the NASA Space Act Award, just to name a few. You have been featured on Time magazine in 2011. You're an expert in GammaTi, superalloys, ceramics, electron microscopy, and single silicon crystals and wafers. Let's take you back to 1984 when you were 40 years old. The Indian government had given you the Elsina Electronics Award for manufacturing the largest single silicon wafer in the world. Why silicon?
Let me tell you something about it. I was from a very small village in Bangladesh. My father was a village doctor, and my father was very known for his love for education. He used to bring the local kids to his house to teach them.
Do they like that?
No. This was the kind of a family atmosphere. He wanted to emphasize the education in all languages, like we have 3 languages, Sanskrit, Bengali, and English. He believed deeply that it is through education that people could come out of poverty. But during partition, we are one of the millions of refugees trying to relocate to India and build a life of our own.
That must have been really difficult for him.
He was about
at a later age, maybe 45 years old?
Yes, yes. When we came to Calcutta, the train reached Chialda station, which is the largest and very busiest rail station in the world at that time. And I was amazed because it was at night and I saw so much lights.
You'd never seen?
I have never seen such a thing like that. And I was only 6 years old. So I was very much fascinated by that. And later on in my life that I decided that we should do something so that we could create a situation like solar cell so that could electrify whole villages in India. That was the reason that I wanted to do silicon.
The Indian Secretary of Industry knew that creating this silicon wafer in a grassroots facility where the power system was guaranteed to short, where the environment was extremely humid, all of these factors and more would prevent you from manufacturing such a large crystal. You did it.
It is true that I did it, but I did it with my father-in-law.
Who funded the research?
My in-laws as well as the government of West Bengal.
So now you were awarded this prize for making silicon wafers cheap and affordable. Was your dream fulfilled? Were you able to see your technology applied and light up all the villages?
Unfortunately, that thing didn't happen. Although the technology that we established was a tremendous success, as was duly recognized by the government of India by giving me the award. But we are promised a lot of funding to commercialize this innovation. Unfortunately, that thing fell through. But we were raised with a philosophy, like the scientists before us, like Dr. Meghdad Saha and others, who insisted that research and development is not the only thing. You have to produce something, and that should benefit the whole society.
So that science is helpful.
Right.
Okay.
That kind of motivation was always with me. I still follow the silicon single crystal wafer activities in India. Unfortunately, about 30 years later, I am sorry to say that those villages still do not have any electric power or solar energy power.
Let's talk about gamma titanium aluminide. Why GammaTi?
GammaTi is a miracle material. Imagine you can do whatever you can do right now, but with half your body weight. So what would happen is that you could go further, because now that your weight is low. You would consume less because you don't have that weight.
Oh, so I wouldn't need as much food or water.
Right. And
I'd probably breathe less oxygen.
exactly. And you will also do not need that amount of repair of your body because your stresses would be lower. So in addition to that, you won't be needing a lot of clothes. And so similarly, with the use of the GammaTi, you have tremendous savings of the greenhouse gases, fuel, materials, and that was the charm of using GammaTi.
The same engine
Yeah.
would go a lot
further.
Wow.
Yeah.
If an airline bought this engine, I would imagine with greater fuel efficiency, overall efficiency, the airline would see a great cost benefit for choosing GammaTi.
If GammaTi replaces the compressors, the turbines, the nozzle, and if the whole architecture of the jet engine is redesigned in order to accommodate the 700 pounds of weight savings that would be gained by using GammaTi, then each aircraft would go about 45 nautical miles further, and it would also save 362 liters of fuel per flight.
Well, that seems negligible.
Imagine an airline buys 3,000 of these aircraft whose life expectancies are 20 years. Then this airline would save about $7 billion in fuel consumption, $17 billion in direct operating expenses, and whopping $217 billion in operation costs. Imagine that.
Can GammaTi technology be applied outside aerospace and astronautics?
Yes, it can be used in any other areas.
Why would you say that?
Because the material that we produced for aerospace, it goes through a rigorous scrutiny. If any technological marvel eliminates the danger associated with the flight, then it can be used in air or sea.
So why is GammaTi not known? Why isn't it being aggressively used in aerospace and astronautics? Why is it not being used in the automotive sectors?
Well, we don't have any prints, Beyonce, Madonna, the Beatles, or Justin Timberlake, or Kardashians to promote our work.
I wasn't sure.
Yes, before you were born, I followed some of them.
So why are we asking our viewers for funding?
Metallurgy does not get any marketing dollars. Gamma titanium aluminide does not have any impressive dance routines with red lipsticks and big hair. Very little people pay attention to this material, this field. If you make a jet engine out of the scrap materials, it is not like making some furniture out of wood. If you do that, then it assuredly you will fail. The engine would fail out of sky. So what we need to do is to design the engine, and there are certain requirements. So one is what is the property of the metals that would be used in designing the engine. How much of this property that each material can attain. How we could combine this material to get better property. Do you know the science behind this mixturing? Do you have any facility to make this material? And then, once the material is made, we then test it. And in the first try or second try, it is invariably fail. Then again, we have to go to the drawing board. Again, we do the process over and over again. And in the meantime, it may so happen that the funding got cut. So then you have to again look for funding. Again, you have to adjust your schedule to see whether you could accommodate those reduced funding. Maybe you have to hunt for more funding, and then you get some funding. And maybe after all these years, like for me, after 30 years of trial and error and all this.
With the same compound of
GammaTi. Same compound, GammaTi. You find a material, then you could throw it in the sky and it would stick. Now, as a scientist, you also have to get the funding. It is not only you have to do design and try to make this happen, but you have to look for funding. And you have to wear different hats, like purchaser, like the entrepreneur, engineer, production, including politicians and other things. There is a lot of work that goes into it. So what I am coming to you is for funds so that I could devote aggressively on the production of this new material without worrying about protocols. In America, the research grants or fundings are not geared towards long-term research. Most of the funding that are available, it goes to pharma and biotechnology. There is hardly any money for metallurgy or GammaTi. But through my work, I have made this GammaTi very durable, environmentally friendly,
and cheap.
And I want to have public reap the benefit of this advancement. That means if you buy a can of gas, you pay less. You buy airline ticket, you pay less. And that is due to, in part, for the GammaTi application.
Yet no one knows about this.
Yet nobody knows about it. We have only introduced GammaTi in one part of the engine, that is the LPT blade on a particular stage. If we can improve the capabilities of GammaTi a notch further, then this could revolutionize the aerospace engine technology. That means it could change the compressor, LPT sections, and nozzle and other static parts so that the material would be less bulky.
So the GammaTi completely redesigned engine could make the current engine completely unrecognizable.
Yes.
If you got all the funding that you needed, how much time do you think you would need to up the notch of the technology?
I am confident this thing could be done within 2 years' time.
You have made aviation history 5 times in your life. That is an extraordinary achievement. Will you kindly take me through the breakthroughs along the process of developing GammaTi that ultimately allowed you to win the coveted R&D 100 award that the Chicago Tribune calls the Nobel Prize of Applied Science?
GammaTi at low temperature is glass-like, but at high temperature it is rubber-like. Now if you make a blade out of rubber and spin it supersonically, it is not going to break because it is going to absorb the energy. On the other hand, if you do it with glass,
Oh, it's going to break.
the glass is going to break. In metallurgical production, the flexibility is very important. Say, for example, if you are making a pumpkin pie as opposed to making a cookie dough pie. In the pumpkin pie, you take the pumpkin from the can and crack some eggs and some milk and mix it around very nicely, smooth and uniform. And on the other hand, you take the cookie dough pie, it's very hard, it's very difficult to mix. So in the metallurgical term, the cookie dough pie is really catastrophic for engine type of application. It could fall apart because it is not homogeneous.
Because it's not smooth and
It's smooth.
uniform. Okay.
Yeah. My first breakthrough in the aviation history is making this glass-like material behave more like bending a pencil, for which I received NASA's Space Act Award. My second breakthrough in aviation history came when I used this material for the first time to make an engine component, for which I received R&D 100 award.
This was the nozzle flap that you created, correct?
Yes. The third breakthrough in the aviation history came when I used powder metallurgy manufacturing technology on gamma titanium aluminide. Remember the pumpkin pie analogy? When it comes out of the furnace, when you test small amount microscopically from one part to another, you will see a slight difference in taste. For an engine, this slight imperfection is really not acceptable because it is going to lead to cracking or of the engine. The idea of using the powder metallurgy, in a sense, you could compare with grain of sand in a sea beach. Supposing that you have small grains of sand which contains maybe 3 precious metals, then you combine millions of these and they are uniformly distributed.
For example, I would see maybe a grain of sand with an emerald, a diamond, and a quartz, and then the next one is going to have an emerald, diamond, and a quartz, and somehow it's going to look all the same.
All the
somehow.
same. And then if you could heat it up and make it a consolidated part, what you will see is a uniformly distributed all these minerals.
So it looked like polka dots on a shirt.
On a shirt.
Okay.
And this material is very good in resisting cracks because of the distribution and homogeneity. And the powder metallurgy really does the same.
And you're the one
And
that...
I am the one who introduced this powder metallurgy technique in aviation product first time with GammaTi. The fourth breakthrough in the aviation history happened when I used this new GammaTi compound to manufacture first ever powder metallurgy jet engine component in the aviation history. This is the entire compressor rotor. This material at the time was the largest compressor rotor ever produced in the world with GammaTi using the powder metallurgy process. Now my fifth breakthrough in the aviation history, when I made LPT blades for Pratt & Whitney GTF engine, for which I received the Pratt & Whitney's Eagle Award.
These GammaTi blades are now being commercially used for the first time in aviation history, and over 7,000 engines have been sold, right?
Yes. Currently, the temperature capability of this material is about 1350 degrees Fahrenheit. If the capabilities can be enhanced to about 1550, then this would be my sixth breakthrough in aviation history. It can then replace all the compressor, all the LPTs, nozzles, and including a lot of static part.
So static and rotational parts can be changed throughout the engine, and I would assume then the machinery around the engine would also have to be redesigned to accommodate for this sleek design. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, so that would mean a colossal savings in fuel costs, efficiency, greenhouse gases, airline operation costs, as we talked about earlier.
Right.
Wow, that's a big domino effect.
Yes, but if you increase the temperature, there is also another thing. Just like if you keep your silver jewelry in air, it corrodes. But if you increase the temperature, particularly at high temperature, the gamma started to corrode. So we need some sort of a protection, and I will be working on the protection coating.
So it's a sealant?
To sealant, yes, so that it resists corrosion. For that, we need really support, funding support. That's why I come to the viewers to see whether they would be willing to support my endeavor.
This coating could help you make aviation history a seventh time.
Yes.
That's impressive. What is your vision?
My vision is to finish where I started, change the architecture of the engine with GammaTi.
And then you'd see it on every single airplane in the entire world.
In the entire world. And GammaTi is in the stage of revolutionary explosion. So
and you need funding.
And I need funding.
What is your next idea?
Take my experience in the GammaTi and use the additive manufacturing to make part without any waste of the material. And I could combine all these technologies to make easily in one operation. I could make the part.
So you can make a product with any different types of parts with whatever combination, and you can manufacture it in one go without any waste?
Yes, with the additive manufacturing that can be done.
Anything else you want to do with your life?
Fly a kite.
Well, I wanted to thank you so much for being on this program, and we are so blessed to have you here. You have made tremendous contributions to science, and I believe our viewers are going to support you in making many more.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my audience for their support in advance. And also I wanted to acknowledge my friend and colleague, Dr. Helmut Clemens of University of Leoben, Austria, who had been working with me for a long, long time.
In 2013, at Thermac, Professor Helmut Clemens, GammaTi international expert and 2014 Honda Prize winner, praised Dr. Das in his keynote speech as one of the few researchers that developed and applied GammaTi. In 2001, Director of Sikorsky James Corcoran wrote to Dr. Das, "I firmly believe that your GammaTi work with Plansey was the key to winning the sale of 9 Sikorsky helicopters." This $184 million sale was reported by the Hartford Courant. In 2000, Thomas Tillman, Pratt & Whitney manager, applauded Dr. Das. "Your persistence has kept GammaTi alive." In 1999, Dr. Joseph Grady, NASA manager, acknowledged Gopal is by far the leader on the nozzle team in contributing technical publications and presentations to the Advanced Materials Societies. That was the basis of our successful demonstration of gamma sheet technology. In 1999, Dr. Paul Bartolotta, senior engineer at NASA, stated, "Gopal has proven that a new low-cost GammaTi sheet production route is viable, making it palatable for commercial, space, and military aviation applications." Dr. Das's contribution to GammaTi development and manufacturing has made the jet engine more green. Already 12 to 20% reduction of emissions has been achieved by the new GTF engine, and another 20 to 30% reduction of emissions is expected on the near future completely redesigned engine by 2030. And Gopal hopes to make manufacturing 100% green with GammaTi powder-based hybrid additive manufacturing. The risk Dr. Gopal Das took 40 years ago is paying off. GammaTi is being used in aviation and is in design for use in transportation and energy. Dr. Das is on the cusp of exciting breakthroughs, and he hopes to continue his work and fulfill his vision with your contribution. There is no doubt that his revolutionary lightweight GammaTi technology and his green manufacturing processes is on the verge of rippling through any industry that desires a bigger bang for its green dollar, allowing for innovations far beyond our current imagination. If you would like to fund Dr. Das's next scientific breakthroughs on GammaTi that only you can do, please go to. For everyone who contributes, Dr. Das will personally update you on his progress. Once more, to fund Dr. Das, please visit. Every dollar counts. Thank you for your time and generosity. I'm Ishani Das at MNN.